Hello writers, and welcome to our writing lesson for today. Today I'm going to teach you that poems are just like music. In fact, a lot of the lyrics or the words in certain songs that you might hear on the radio or on a CD or on your computer, a lot of the lyrics to those songs that you listen to every day can be considered poetry. And so we're going to really learn about how we can add kind of a music style to some of our poems. So one way to give your poems music is to pay close attention to where you put the words and where you don't put words. So poets try a few different ways of breaking up their lines. And what I mean by that is they make their lines short and sweet and simple. So they don't get dragged out, they're not too long. Each line in a poem is just very short, and whenever they stop to kind of take a breath or they pause is when a new line starts. So poets, again, they try different ways of kind of breaking up their lines. And then when they do that, they then read the poem aloud after each try until the poem is written in a way that sounds just right. So for example, we're going to look at this poem called Aquarium by Valerie Worth. And I'm just going to read you the poem, and then we're going to kind of study it and see how it's written. So the poem goes like this. Goldfish flash gold and silver scales. They flick and slip away under green weed, but round brown snails stick to the glass and stay. So when I read the poem this way tells us to read it just like we are talking to each other. It's almost like we're telling somebody about goldfish and snails. We're kind of giving them some factual information. And when I read it, it kind of sounds like blah, 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 right? I'm just kind of stating all the facts that I know about goldfish and I'm telling it to that person. So what if we were to break up this poem like this? So this is an example of breaking up the lines in a poem. So instead of having just three really long lines, we kind of break it up. Some lines just have one word, some lines have a few words, and so we really broke this poem up to give it more lines. So let's look at this version, and I'm going to read it the way it's written now, and we're going to see if it makes a difference based on breaking it up by lines. So the way that this one is written would sound like this. Goldfish, flash, gold and silver scales. They flick and slip away under green weed, but round brown snails stick to the glass and stay. Do you see how I broke this up into more but shorter lines? When we read the poem with line breaks, it sounds totally different, doesn't it? She can also show you how some things can slow down like a snail. So at the end of the poem, we notice that the snails, they're not moving. They stick to the glass and stay. Do you see how the line breaks kind of tell me how to use my voice when I'm reading the poem? That is one of the ways that the author that wrote this poem kind of gave it some music. So what I'm going to have you do today is when you go over and you click on this Google Doc here, you are going to see the poem Aquarium by Valerie Worth, and it's going to be just like how it is here. And what I want you to do is I want you to try and break up this poem into different line breaks and see if it makes a difference when you read it. Okay, so I want you to play around with the words in this poem, and I want you to kind of create your own line breaks within this poem to kind of make this poem sound a little bit more musical, to have it flow a little bit better, and for it to really change the way you read it with your voice. Okay, so click on this Google Doc, and when that poem comes up, try and add a few more break lines to your poem. What words are you going to have on each line? How are you going to read that poem when you add line breaks to it? Okay, be creative, and again, just play around with the words and see just how fluent your poem becomes. Okay, everybody? Good luck. Can't wait to see what you write.